Rich, this was a horrible idea to join the watch. We're on this wall freezing our balls off, man. Why'd we do this?
I don't know, man. This is miserable. But I did sneak these headphones in so we can listen to this Pod Bros exclusive.
Oh, I feel warmer already.
What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And hello, ghouls. I'm Shawn.
Oh my God. We're speaking the language of bromance.
Richard, it's again that time of year. It comes every year.
Yay!
The weather starts to change. Leaves start to fall. The goblins and ghouls come out. Dude, it's Brolloween 2016.
Oh, do you have to just say goblins and ghouls come out? That sounds so hokey.
Yeah, I know.
The serial killers and rapists come out. Oh, that's too much.
That's not better.
That's not better at all.
This is the special episode we do around this time of year where we try to freak the shit out of each other. We find stories about something that is scary or creepy, or we talk about things that are scary and creepy from our childhood. And we call it our Brolloween episode.
Yay!
I always enjoy these. I always think these are a good opportunity for us to scare each other with either real life stories or fake movies that creep us out.
Very much so. I can't remember what we did last year, but this year I got some creepy shit.
Yeah, I know. And if you wait, next week we'll be doing a phobia draft, which is a little bit closer to Halloween. But usually we have a draft and this Brolloween episode. And the draft that we have planned for next week, Richard, are you too scared to tell what it'll be, or can we spoil it?
Yes, I have a fear of talking about draft episodes.
Well, we're gonna do a phobia draft, which I think will be really fun. But for this week, we're going to talk about different stories and things. So for the opening story I have, it was funny when I told you about this, you thought it was somebody else, but I have America's first serial killers, Richard.
Yeah, I know. I totally, as soon as you said America's first, I was like, oh, it's, but no, it's not. I thought it was H.H. Holmes.
Who was the guy who made the Kill House in Chicago.
Right. Which they're making a movie of with our good friend Leo DiCaprio.
Yeah, it'll be Serial Killer Leo.
Yeah. Hopefully he's not going to land in any water or be attacked by a bear.
But so the first serial killers, they go by the name the Hart brothers. So this story is from Blumhouse, which is a production company. They put out a lot of good creepy stuff, and this was one of the stories. So in 1776, America was born, right? 20 years later is when the Hart brothers, Micajah, Micajah, and Willie were born.
They're immigrants.
They're born in
build a wall.
They're born to Scottish immigrant parents, but they're born in Orange County, North Carolina. So they were American citizens.
Build a wall around Orange County.
So basically, they're a thing of legend, right? These guys.
Okay.
The picture they show, it's very too much like Bear. What's the bear guy that just died? Grizzly Adams. They're very Grizzly Adams looking guys. They're carrying these big black powder rifles. They got all this leather equipment. Both of them are wearing coon hats. I think one's got a duck on his head. So these guys aren't people to fuck with.
So it's like a creepy fucking Davy Crockett.
Yeah, like a backwoods banjo playing Davy Crockett.
King of the wild frontier.
I'll be the king of your wild frontier. You sure do have a pretty mouth. So, just kind of going to go through the story of these guys. So, their father was a loyalist during the Revolutionary and fought alongside the English. So, these guys already have nothing good going for them when you think of like how America probably was. So, everybody's probably like, USA, down with England. We like tea, not to have Texas.
All right.
So, apparently, all this stuff is kind of going on. So, these guys, so they were born in 1760. So they were 16 at the time of the Revolution.
Okay, so they're old enough to go shoot people.
Yeah, so as part of this, they're basically like guerrilla warfare people. Like they were fighting to help their dad in the English during this time. So Micajah and Willie, they got together and formed a gang. They're part of the brutal Tory gang, which I'm not very familiar, but they conducted raids on homes of patriots. So if you were fighting for the patriots, they would go to your home, raid it, and they just did that all through the countryside. They actually teamed up with the Cherokee tribe as well. So the Cherokees at this point are like, hey, we want to get some of our land back, so let's team up and attack patriots, right? Like you think of that today, it's like, oh my God, these people are horrible. But I guess at this point in time, it'd be kind of a very split of, do you root for your mother country, England, or do you, go with these new rebels? Do you want to fight for the empire, or do you want to fight for the rebels?
Rebels all the way.
So apparently, as these guys were fighting with the Cherokee, they're like, fuck it, we could probably kill more people on our own. So they split up, and after a while, they end up so they split up with the Cherokee, right? So like, okay, we're going to go on our own. We don't need you guys anymore.
Okay.
And shortly before, soldiers actually caught up with the tribe and decimated them. So they left just in time. So they just missed being probably fodder of this Indian genocide that was going on. But these guys were still ruthless and effective killers on their own. So they were very notorious for the way that they killed. So they didn't just kill people; they killed and dismembered them. So one of the stories that they have is in Knoxville, Tennessee. They killed a man and during the course of robbing him. So it's like, hey, are you a patriot? Are you fighting for this new America thing? And he's like, yeah, I don't like paying taxes on tea.
Fuck tea. I want to put on Indian makeup and dump it off a boat too.
I like more money in my pockets. No taxation without representation.
Yeah.
We'll represent this. Stab, 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 stab. And so they're robbing him and they stab him. I guess he was found at the bottom of a river, this guy. So he's missing and they try to find him. Apparently what these guys did, after they killed him, they ripped his chest open and filled it with rocks.
Oh, shit. They weigh him down.
Yeah. So they're basically like, okay, we just killed this guy who didn't like tea. So what do we do now to show how badass we are? And probably one of them's cutting him open and digging into him. It's like, dude, what do you do? Oh my God, let's make a rock cake. You want to make a rock cake? Let's make a rock cake. What's a rock cake? Rock cake is when you cut somebody open.
You wait.
You stick a bunch of rocks in them, you throw them in the river, and you let them cook for 7 to 35 years.
I don't like rock cake.
But I guess they did not care. So one woman had claimed that Micaiah swung her baby by the feet headfirst into a tree. So these guys don't care. And it was said he did this because the kid was crying. So he's walking. And I don't even know if this lady was a sympathizer or a patriot. But her kid started crying. And the guy got so mad that he walks up, grabs the baby, and just kills the baby. Kills a child, Richard. Tell me if you're not sitting there watching a movie with this happening. You're like, these guys are bad dudes. And then somebody does that, you're like, oh, okay. No matter what this guy can say for the rest of his life, he's a bad dude. This guy could cure cancer, and he's a terrible human being. It's interesting as well. So, we kind of got a pretty good background that these guys are bad. But apparently they traveled with 3 women who are known as the Harp Wives.
So this is this going to be like Charles Manson?
I don't know. So I wonder if each one had their own and they shared the other or how that worked. But this whole family was involved in this. They moved throughout Kentucky. They were robbing and murdering people just for their own amusement. No reason at all. They find somebody, kill them just to make themselves happy. It says here in Green River, they killed a man named Langford for no reason. They walk up to him. Maybe it's no reason at all. So the guy couldn't have said hi. Couldn't because his name's Langford. They're just like, hey, stab, 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 stab.
So they're big on the stabbing. See, this is the age where, they're like, I could shoot you, but that's going to take too long. I could shoot you, and let's say I only hit you in the shoulder. Then I got to spend all that time to reload my musket. I got to pull out that stick. I got to put the balls in. I got to, pack the stick in. It's too much. Stab. This is and done.
Yeah, it takes so long. You get a good workout out of it, I assume, because you got to pull it out, put it back in. They were arrested once in Danville for a crime, but they escaped. So these guys, not only are they killers, so think about this. You're living in 1799. You guys just, are in this Revolutionary War, just coming out of it. And there's these Hart brothers running around. You open your newspaper and, it's going to be 12 days old because, newspapers back then took forever to get to your house.
Yeah, they did.
Probably had blood on it from the newspaper guy getting killed. You're like, oh, the Hart brothers got caught. That is amazing.
Huh.
I can sleep well tonight.
Let me just move this bloody handprint off my paper.
And then, 12 days later, you get another bloody paper, and it says, the Hart brothers escape, and it's delivered to you by the Hart brothers.
And stab, stab, stab.
I mean, it's crazy to think about back then, too. So the equivalent to being safe in your home was a little latch. Like when you go to like an old baseball field or something like that. You know how they lock the bathroom? It's a little latch that you just put inside a hole.
Like one of those little like pin locks or whatever.
Yeah, well, not even like a pin lock. Like maybe they had something like that, but usually it's just like a little metal piece that's on like hooked to
the old school like hook.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of, and you hook it into the thing. So it's if you want to get in, it takes a very light push, and you're in.
Right.
And that was your home security in 1799.
Well, back in the day, didn't they just have like a board that like slid over?
Yeah, I'm sure some people had like a board. Yeah, I remember that, like the old fort style.
Yeah, yeah.
But even then, you're out in the middle of nowhere, so somebody can come to your house, and what are you going to do? Like you said, you had, if you're lucky, you have a gun, and you use it. You shoot once. It takes 30 minutes to reload it.
Yeah, exactly.
But
they said the Minutemen they could get a shot reloaded and shot off every like 2 minutes, or was it a minute? I think that's why they called them the Minutemen.
You know why they called them the Minutemen, Richard?
Tell me. Because these guys showed up and stabbed them in under 30 seconds.
Yeah. So let's see. So these guys, they murdered a mill boy in Adair County, and they, on their travels, they killed 3 more men. So in July of 1799, they murdered an entire family. So just like we're talking about, you get that paper, and you're like, oh, they got caught. And then later, the Hart brothers deliver the paper saying, hey, guess what, guys? We escaped. Stab, stab, stab. Oh,
hey, we made it out. Oh, I'm so glad.
You didn't say it gladly enough. Stab, stab, stab. Oh, you have a whole family. Stab, 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 stab.
Yay!
Like no remorse.
My stabbing arm's tired.
Give it to the wife. They'll do it. Which one? I don't know. One of the 3. But they killed the whole family, even the house guests that were there. And before they decided to leave, they're like, "Hey, let's burn the house down too. Anybody want to roast marshmallows?"
Apparently, or at least use the fire to clean off their stabby knives.
Yeah, but I mean, just no care whatsoever. So after the Stigel slaying, they organized a posse to bring these guys to justice. Like, listen, these guys were caught. They got away. We got to stop them.
I love it when we put together a posse.
Yeah, so they got the drop on Macaja by shooting, and they wounded him. But he was not ready to get off. So he fought off his attackers with a tomahawk, Richard, a hatchet, a glorified hatchet.
Yeah. Enough with the stabby. Time to move on to, he graduated to chopping.
Yeah.
Chop, chop, chop to chop.
And he didn't stop, Richard, until he was overpowered and decapitated. So he was probably held down at a time, fought his way out, grabs his tomahawk again, and keeps fighting. Maybe getting stabbed, maybe getting shot. I don't know. He was shot once at least, but he kept fighting and fighting and fighting until they decapitated him. It's like a freaking demon.
You know what he was? He was like Highlander.
There can be only one. Plus my brother.
Stab, stab.
So after they did that, they decided, listen, we're gonna show a message to anybody that wants to act like these guys. So they hung his head from a branch where it remained for 10 years in Webster County, Kentucky, which is now known as Harper's Head Road. So he got a road named after him.
In memoriam.
Yeah. But Willie wasn't like, I'm going to avenge my brother. He decides to escape justice, and he runs off to join Samuel Mason.
He's like, yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
He's already done.
He's got his head cut off. He's head and shoulders above the rest now.
That's when they go and see Paw.
Yeah, they don't say what happened to his dad, so. But, so Willie escapes, and he runs off with Samuel Mason, who was a river pirate. And I guess he operated near Cave and Rock, Illinois, which I have no clue where that is.
Oh my God, I've just found my new want in life.
Is to go to Cave and Rock, Illinois?
No, river pirate. I want to be a river pirate.
That just sounds, I don't know. Like, pirates is kind of cool in some aspects because you're on the ocean, you're sailing from port to port. I've been to a lot of river towns, and nothing about that seems sexy.
Well, I'm just picturing like a guy on a raft.
You can't. Yeah, basically, it's an extravagant float trip is all it is, because you're never going to go upriver.
There's a guy in an inner tube waving a skull and crossbones flag in his hand,
drinking a lot of rum, going yo ho,
Arr,
yo
river
ho.
pirates.
Oh, I'm almost to New Orleans. Time to get in the car and go back and start all over. So it doesn't state what happened to Willie. He must have. No, I'm sorry. He was eventually captured, and they executed him and Samuel Mason, the other river pirate.
Oh.
So despite the acts and notorieties, America.
Did they get a river named after him?
No river. Yeah, the Mississippi. They were Willie. They were Willie and Sam Mississippi. It was their nickname for each other. So this kind of wraps it up.
River
But
pirates forever.
basically, these guys being notarized as America's first serial killers, because they kind of went on this whole killing tour. They did make some appearances in film and literature. They were in the 1995 television series Wonderful World of Disney. They made an appearance in an episode of Davy Crockett and the River Pirates. And they're in the 1941 film The Devil and Daniel Webster.
Huh. All right.
So, all said and told for these America's first serial killers, by the end of their reign of terror, this says, they had confessed to murdering 39 people, but they actually believe that the number is well over 50.
Damn.
So,
That's the thing with serial killers. It seems like people are always sketchy about the numbers.
yeah, some are, and some, I mean, you'd think, because I think they say like most serial killers keep like a trophy. So these guys were probably more like just mass murderers, just going around.
Well, no, because maybe. No, because they did this over the course of however long.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I guess the thing is that they weren't. I always thought like with serial killer, there's a reason for like doing it. Like there's a pattern.
Well, the difference between the serial killer and a mass murderer is there's what they call a cooling off period, where like a serial killer will kill somebody and then wait, hang out for a few months, and then they'll kill somebody else.
Yeah.
Like they don't like a postal worker that goes into a post office and starts shooting up people. That's a mass murderer. The Zodiac the Zodiac killer who, over the course of however long killed people is considered a serial killer, because there was like a period of time in between murders, like a chunk of time.
Yeah. Can you explain, or do you have any thoughts on why America is so obsessed with serial killers? Like I remember being like 12 years old and Discovery and all those like sciencey channels. Every year it seemed like they had like, here's the in-depth analysis of serial killer, this person. Like you say Ted Bundy, you say all these different names, people know who they are.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think it's because, well, I think part of us is curious to see, like, I think ultimately we all just want to know why.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking.
Like, all these people are fundamentally broken in some sort of way.
And why is that? What drives?
Yeah, what is it exactly? Like Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, everybody wants to know why Jeffrey Dahmer did what he did, and what would drive him to keep heads in a freezer and shit like that.
Yeah, or Ed Gein, in Wisconsin, the craziness that he has.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about like stuff like, Ed Gein spawned like 4 horror movies. And
right.
Even though they say based on a true story, and they're like, it's not the actual basis, but it's, the deep down, the things that we learn from Ed Gein is what created those.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
And I don't know. So I guess it's like, I don't know, because, you don't, I don't know, was it a thing in the 70s and 80s, or just a lot of them? Because you don't really hear a lot about like, oh, serial killer person Z was caught, and this is what they did. Like you hear like,
well, the last one I think that comes to like recent memory in terms of serial killers is what the BTK killer.
Well, every now and then you hear like, oh, potential serial killer, but you never hear like a name, or like there's no, I don't know if maybe they've stopped glorifying it, because like you had the BTK killer, which the media gives it a name. It's like, oh, this is probably another killing associated with person, serial killer name X.
Right.
I don't know. Do you
Well,
think?
I think that you don't hear a lot about serial killers until they're finally caught. You know what I mean?
I don't think that's true because during the '80s, didn't they really talk about like Son of Sam and stuff like that as it was going on, and the Zodiac?
Well, I'm saying today, like you don't hear a lot about serial
Oh,
killers
yeah.
today until they're finally caught.
And that's
But yeah, so I mean, and the other thing to consider is the fact that that they all go to prison. Like none of them go to institutions. Like they all go to prison.
well, I think that's not really a very recent thing, though. I mean, Ted Bundy and all them didn't go to an institution, did they? They went right to jail.
Right, they all went to jail. Dahmer went to jail. Actually, the last quote unquote serial killer I think that went to jail, that went to an institution, was Son of Sam, the Berkowitz,
Oh, gotcha.
because he thought that his dog was the Archangel Michael.
I was telling him to kill people.
Yeah.
Did the dog pick who he should kill, or did it just tell him he should go out and kill people?
I don't know if the dog told him, if the dog picked for him, or if he picked. I don't know.
A better question: do you think they put the dog down?
You know what? I think better safe than sorry.
Yeah, just in case.
All right, Shawn. That's a pretty good story. I have one. I have a story that's not very gruesome. It's a little gruesome, but the thing about this story is, number one, it's more recent, and number two, I have video proof, or I have video evidence.
Oh, creepy.
Okay, so I think I should preface this by saying that there is a YouTube video for this, and we'll link. I think we should have the link in like our show notes, so that way if people want to see this video, they more than can. There's nothing like, there's nothing gruesome or anything on the video.
Well, I guess the question is it safe for work? Is it a safe for work
Yes,
video?
yeah, the video is totally safe for work.
Okay.
But the story that goes behind the video is really not. Okay, so Shawn, I'm taking you back, way back, all the way to 2013.
Oh my gosh. Do you know what I was doing in 2013?
We were talking about making a podcast in 2013.
Yeah, we started a podcast in 2013.
Yeah.
And you know what's changed since then? Not a damn thing.
Not much. All right. In 2013, this is the story of a girl named Eliza Lamb.
Okay.
In 2013, Eliza Lamb was found dead in a water tower on top of a hotel in Los Angeles.
Oh, I've heard about this story.
I thought, I was sure you might have, but some people haven't. So,
And this isn't an urban legend, right? Like this is actual.
no, this is an actual true story.
Okay.
2013, Eliza Lamb was found dead in a water tower on top of the notorious Hotel Cecil. I'll get into that in a minute. After an in-depth investigation, police could never pinpoint the exact cause of death. Okay, so we're gonna go back to the beginning of this story. The Hotel Cecil is where this chick was staying at. On January 26, 2013, 21-year-old Canadian tourist Eliza Lamb checked into the hotel, and on February 19th, 18 days after she was last seen, her body was found naked and floating in a 4x8 foot water tank on the roof of the hotel.
When I thought I heard too, the reason they checked the water tower, and this may be a different story, but there was like weird coloration in the water that guests were complaining about. Okay.
Yes. Guests were complaining about the water. Actually, the only reason she was found is because people were complaining about low water pressure, like in the showers and stuff. One couple recalled that the water came out black and had a bad taste, but didn't complain at the time because they thought it was quote unquote normal for LA.
Oh, that's so. I mean, like think about like
Yeah.
There's a pretty sick joke that somebody used to tell. It's basically you ask somebody, it's like, hey, have you had any hot dogs recently? So play along, Richard. So I'll be like, hey, when's the last time you had a hot dog?
I don't know, maybe a week ago.
What kind of brand was it?
Beef.
Like, was it Oscar Myers?
Yeah, it was a Ballpark.
Oh, okay. Did you hear the weird story about Ballpark, like the Ballpark company recently?
No.
So apparently there was a guy who worked for a ballpark and he was like super, super pissed with the company. So what he did is I guess he would find like drifters or hitchhikers on the road. He did this for like months and he would kill them, take them to the meat factory, put their body parts in the what got made for the ballpark, Franks,
Uh-huh.
and then, just let them go out. So basically,
Oh.
so I probably didn't set it up very well, but you basically tell that joke and then you ask, knowingly that that they ate a ballpark Frank. And you'd be like, oh well, they just caught him yesterday. So when's the last time? You're like, oh, it was a week ago. It's like, oh, well, maybe you didn't eat human flesh. I don't know. That's not a true story, but it's kind of like that joke reminds me of that. It's like you're drinking, human decaying fluids.
You're drinking a person.
Yeah.
Ugh. And it said, like, people were like, oh, it had a bad taste. So obviously people drank it.
Yeah.
Okay. So when Eliza first checked into the hotel, she was in a hostel-style shared room. She was later moved to her own room due to complaints from her roommates of quote-unquote odd behavior. The last time she was seen was on surveillance footage in a hotel elevator. And that's the video. So that's the video I'll link to.
And I think I watched the video a little bit. So, can you explain how the video looked, or what?
Okay,
what she was doing?
in the footage, she's behaving weird. Like she's weird in the video. It shows like she's hiding in the door opens and she like comes in and hides in the corner of the elevator. But then she comes back out in the hallway, or she's peeking around the door of the elevator, and then she'll walk out into the hallway, and it looks like she's talking to somebody, but there's nobody there, or if there is somebody there, they're not, directly in front of the elevator door. So you don't know if she's just talking to nobody or if she's actually talking to somebody. So this is the last footage of her alive, because after this video, the next time you hear about her is she's dead inside a water tower.
Yeah, and they never so was she reported missing, or do you remember hearing anything about that?
I think she might have been reported missing. I don't know. One theory is that Eliza was on that she was on drugs, because she was found naked inside a water tower.
Like some really bad trip.
Right. She was also being treated for bipolar disorder. However, the toxicology report showed that there was nothing in her system that could have contributed to her death. Apparently stone cold sober.
Could that have been diluted, though, being in the water for that long, that maybe you couldn't identify that?
I don't think so, because I think, yes, she's been in the water for, 2 weeks, but I would think that they could still find traces of something.
Yeah, maybe. It wasn't so. And there's like other theories too, right?
Yeah, the other theory, some believe that she was actually murdered, but the autopsy also showed no signs of trauma.
So it was just drowning that killed her, or were they able to prove that?
Well, they were able to prove that she drowned, but they don't know how she got in the water tank in the first place.
Well, it seems like you'd have to have keys and stuff to get there too, right? Like it shouldn't.
Well,
just be...
okay. In order to get to the water tank, she would have had to have climbed out a window onto the fire escape, or she would have had to go through the rooftop door, but the rooftop door is locked and also has an alarm on it.
So she didn't go that way, or if she did, nobody was able to identify that it was open at some point.
Right. Judging by Eliza's state in the video, it's unlikely she could have climbed out a window, up a fire escape, up a 10-foot tank, and then opened and closed a 20-pound hatch behind her. Because that's the other thing, is she would have had to have, not only she would have had to climb, get on the roof. So let's say she gets on the roof. She takes off all her clothes. She climbs up into this water tank, climbs up on top of this water tank, opens a 20-pound hatch, jumps in, and still closes the hatch behind her.
Which I'm guessing is probably pretty full of water. So I guess it could be different things. Like it could be full of water, so like you get into it and you're right in it, or like you jump in and fall where you can't get back out.
That's what I'm thinking. That because I think the way these water tanks work is like it's not like full, So that means that there wouldn't have been a way for her to close the hatch. Like she wouldn't have been tall enough to close the hatch.
Well, I'm sure
I would think.
I would think those would have like steps, kind of like a sewer steps. Because what would be the reason to have a hatch if there's no way to get in and out of it?
No. Another theory is that Eliza, who was seen talking to someone on the surveillance footage, was actually speaking to Richard Ramirez, who was a serial killer convicted of 13 murders, and he stayed in the Hotel Cecil from 1984 to 1985. So they're thinking that so a theory is that she was talking to the serial killer, but then, I mean, you got to think he stayed in the hotel for a year, but would he have a reason to go back?
So he wasn't like a ghost or anything. It was actually him, they think.
Well, they don't know who she was talking to, but one theory is that she was talking to this guy.
Well, I mean, I guess he probably could have gone back to the hotel. Maybe that was kind of like his hunting ground.
Maybe.
Because I mean, you can get into a hotel pretty easily and just walk around. Like, I don't think there's anybody to stop you unless somebody kind of says like, "Hey, this dude's walking around and hasn't gone to any rooms."
Yeah. And that's not the only weird stuff that happened in the Hotel Cecil. It was also the home to serial killer Jack Utterweger, the site of an unsolved murder in 1964, and was also one of the last places the Black Dahlia was seen.
Oh,
Black
wow.
Dahlia, that's super famous. Like, I think it was the first, like, quote unquote Hollywood murder.
Yeah, something like that. Because they've made like a bunch of movies about it and video games on it, I think, trying to solve the mystery of the Black Dahlia.
Yeah. Numerous people have killed themselves by jumping from the building.
So this place has a little bit of a curse to it.
A little bit, yeah. And also, if I'm not mistaken, I think her clothes, her clothes were folded next to the ladder leading up to the water tank.
Huh, that's weird. So
I'm not sure on that, though. I'm trying to double check myself.
So when she took off her clothes to get in there, she folded them nice and neat for somebody to pick back up. Well, it's crazy to think that nobody goes up there at all then, because, I mean, if their clothes folded up there, they'd have been up there for a long time.
In one of them, he found Lamb's body floating face up a foot below the water surface. And by noon that day, the hotel had drained the tank so firefighters could cut it open and remove the body, since the opening of the tank was too small to accommodate the necessary equipment. Okay, so I'm on Wikipedia now, and this is under unresolved issues. The investigation had determined how Lamb died, which was by drowning, but did not offer an explanation as to how she got in the tank in the first place. Doors and stairs that access the hotel's roof are locked, with only staff having the passcodes and keys, and any attempt to force them open would have triggered an alarm. However, the hotel's fire escape could have been allowed her to bypass those security measures if she or someone who might have accompanied her had known. Apart from the question of how she got in the roof, others asked if she could have gotten into the tank. All tanks are 4 by 8 feet cylinders propped up on concrete blocks. There's no fixed access to them, and hotel workers had to use a ladder to look at the water. They're protected by heavy lids that would be difficult to replace from within. Police dogs that searched through the hotel for Lamb, even on the roof, shortly after her disappearance, did not find any trace of her. It was recalled, although they had not searched the area near the water tanks.
So they searched up there, but they didn't look at the water tank. So if her clothes were...
Right. So her clothes apparently weren't there.
Okay. I mean, is there anything creepier than a hotel, though? Like, I think there's...
Yeah.
I mean,
hotels are super creepy. Hotels are probably the creepiest place on Earth. I wouldn't want to be in a hotel. Like, right now, not where I want to be.
You're a dick.
I'm just saying, like, you're there, you're in a room, maybe you're by yourself, maybe you're not.
You're a dick.
And who's to say that, like, 3 days from now, we find you dead in a water tank?
You're going to feel really bad because this episode won't get out if that happens. Suspect number 1. No, but I mean, like, so many, like, you don't know who's been in the room before. You don't know what's been done in the room before.
Yeah.
I think that's why all, like, horror novelists and writers, each one has their own, haunted hotel story that they've told. Stephen King's has his 1408, and that was like this, he's like, I'm a horror writer, so I have to write this scary, hotel room story.
Yeah.
I think older hotels, the ones with more history, or even like a new hotel, is kind of like, well, it's new. I mean, I'm sure some weirdos have used this room, but it's weirdos within recent memory. But I've been to a couple hotels that are like 200 years old, and those have a lot of creepy vibes to them because, like, yeah, this is where a lot of people at the Prohibition would come. Probably a lot of shady stuff happened in this hotel. Like, oh, great, I get to stay in the room that somebody might have been waterboarded because they told the cops that I had illegal moonshine.
Yeah. So you've got waterboarders, you've got serial killers. You could be staying next to a serial killer right now.
Well, it's a family of like 5, so maybe it's the Harps family.
Look at this paper. Stab, stab, stab.
So, Richard, you know what you're doing right now is every like hour I'm going to be calling you tonight scared, and you're going to have to talk me to sleep. So you've just screwed yourself.
It's an hour ahead for you, so like it's already dark.
Yep.
Like you're sitting there, you're huddled on the desk. I don't know if anybody knows this, but Shawn's in a hotel right now. so he's huddled at the desk. There's a light overhead, and
well, I've got a mirror so I can see everything going on behind me.
Even that guy.
No, he went back in the closet.
Oh, okay.
He poked his head out to make sure we're done.
But yeah, I thought this story would be fitting because A, it's a mystery, and B, takes place in a hotel.
Yeah, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I'm gonna go to one of our favorite topics. I'm gonna go to sex, Richard.
It is one of our favorite topics, if not just mine.
And this isn't technically consensual sex, but it is necrophilia, and I have 5.
Yeah, there's nothing technically correct.
And I have 5 stories of real life necrophilia.
Oh, lovely.
So I don't know what this is. It's kind of interesting because it takes place in Illinois again, but it's a confession. It says...
We should preface this by saying this is definitely not safe for work.
Yeah, this part isn't. So the confession says, I have a somewhat unorthodox annual tradition where I like to stay in a bed and breakfast Victoria mansion in obscure locations across the U.S. This is also by Blumhouse.
Like hotels.
No, these are bed and breakfasts, so people can get into your rooms a lot easier.
That's true, but I'm just saying, it's also they're very similar.
So back in 2013, I enjoyed a gloomy visit to the Vroom Mansion in Bloomington, Illinois. My train back to Chicago was stopped in the city of Joliet due to a snowstorm. I couldn't help but overhear the prying whispers that traveled amongst the passengers about the abnormal occurrences that had just taken place in this otherwise normal town involving a young teen, Alyssa Macero, a supposed necrophiliac. So this is the first story that's coming up.
Okay.
So this says that they had a threesome on top of their dead friends, said a woman on the platform. The police found them playing video games on top of the bodies when they showed up.
Oh.
And that's what sparked this story. So the first one is Alyssa Macero, Nightmare on Hickory Street. Also, is a day before
So how did the body... So did they kill them and then have a threesome on top of it? Or
I don't know. Let's find out.
Yes, let's.
So on January 10th, Alyssa Macero, 18, and her boyfriend Josh, minor, he's 24. They plotted a homicidal party with their 2 friends. So they're like, hey, Bethany, hey, Adam, why don't you come on over and we can hang out? And this has been dubbed the Nightmare on Hickory Street.
Okay.
So I guess...
Very fitting. I like it. I like the title.
I guess Macero had expressed her necrophilia fetish to Minor like years prior. So they've been dating for a while. So first off...
Okay. How do you bring that up?
I mean, you have to be in a strong relationship to bust that. I mean, could you imagine, like, let's say, like, you and I are...
Like, I thought maybe the furry thing would be a bit much. Be like, so I have this new thing I want to try. Like, I thought maybe we could put on these costumes.
So I just imagine you and I are, like, on our brocation trip next year, and, we have a little too much to drink, and you're like, Shawn, I really want to share a fetish I have. You're like, I really think I want Amanda and I to dress up like rabbits and just have sex. I think I'm into that.
I think that'd be good for us.
I take a long sip of my drink. I'm like, Richard, you know what my fetish is? You're like, yeah, what is it, man? I wanna fuck.
Yeah, I shared you. It's your turn to share. Go ahead. What you
I'm
got?
like, I want to fuck a dead body. You're like, oh, check, please. When's the next train? When's the next plane ride back home?
That's cool, Shawn. I'm gonna go downstairs. I just realized that my grandmother is on fire. So I'm going to go handle that and you stay here.
2 more drinks for this guy. Call the police.
That's why I write on the bill.
Yeah. But yeah, so she'd been talking to him about this fetish for years, I guess. So they invited their friends over to a party, and so they strangled them for cash and drugs is what they did. So they left the scene to get their drugs and came back to the dead bodies, and they had a menage a trois on top of them.
So it was the couple and the body.
Yeah, so I can't really quite follow this. So there was 4 friends there, and they invited the 2. So they killed the 2, but there's 4 friends there. So I don't know how they had a threesome on top of those.
Well, because they're counting the body as 1.
I guess maybe that's weird. So
and also, like, what if? Okay, let's say you're the guy in this relationship. Like, what if you're normal and not into that?
I'm not gonna lie. There's not too many things I would call like boner killers, but that's definitely one of them. If a girl's like, "Hey, I want to murder my friends and have sex on their dead bodies," I'm like, I don't think this relationship can go on any further.
Yeah, we're done here. We're quite finished.
You walk away and come back and like, I'm taking that promise ring.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the thing. Is like, what if you're really just not into that? Okay, let's say that you're the guy in this relationship and she confesses this to you, and you're like, you're gonna say, well, that's I get that. Like, I understand that. Like, let's say that you play it off like, oh, well, it's fine. You know why? Because when's that gonna come up? You know what I mean?
Yeah, when's there an opportunity for that?
Yeah, when's the opportunity gonna come up for that? Like, I'll tell her that it's totally fine and that I completely understand because, hey, like, everything else is okay. So, and it's not like we're gonna, be alone around a dead body soon or ever. So I'll say it's fine, and then we'll move on with our lives. So then you're gonna go over to, Denise's house and play video games, and you walk in and there's 2 dead bodies, and she's like, babe, look, it's I strangled him to death, and now we can finally do that thing we always wanted. And you're like, what?
Let me go to the sex shop so we can make this perfect.
Yeah. I need to freshen up.
Let me go to the sex shop and get some handcuffs. No, but so I guess her boyfriend Minor was accused of being the mastermind behind all this.
Oh, so he's like, I'm gonna do this for you.
Yeah, basically. And there were two. So there were 2 other people. So there was 4 people all involved. The girl, her boyfriend, and another couple. And they invited 2 people over that they killed. So Macero, the girl that said like, "Hey, I'm really into this," she received a plea deal for 10 years. So she's going to be out in 2023. And the other one's got like life sentences.
So the girl that was like, "Hey, I'm kind of into this," and then the boyfriend's like, "Okay, well, I'll kill people for you, and then we'll have sex on the like," but it was her. Like, she brought it up.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like from this little bit of article. Yeah.
See, now I'm angry.
Well, let's move on to this guy who, and again, hopefully, I'm gonna try and that one didn't seem too gruesome, but I think some of these are gonna get pretty gruesome, so might just kind of gloss over a little few of these. But there's a guy named Edmund Kemper who he's called the co-ed killer.
Okay.
He, at 24, he was found guilty of murdering 6 female students, his mother, and his mother's best friend. Apparently, at the age of 15, He had a history of kills, including his abusive grandmother. So he had murdered his grandmother. So he murdered his mom, his grandma, and his mom's best friend.
God damn.
Let's see. He murdered his grandfather as well because he was scared that he would be mad that he killed his grandma. So he's worried that he's like, grandma's gonna be there dead in the library.
Pop's gonna be so mad at me.
Grandpa, look what I made for you in art class.
Thunk. It's a lead pipe.
Let's see. Apparently, he picked up female students between 72 and 73, took them to rural areas and dismembered them, and had sex with their corpses. He would, oh God, this is gross. He would decapitate their heads and then take them home to have sex with them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
But how he got caught was when he killed his mom and her best friend, and then he called the police calmly saying, "Hey, I killed my mom and her best friend."
Oh, that's how he got caught, by admitting to it. That's nice.
The cops actually didn't believe him because he was common at the police hangout bar called the Juror Room.
Oh my God. So this guy's like, I killed my mom and my mom's friend, and they're like, yeah, tell us another one. Yeah, I got Prince Albert in a can right here. Click. And he's like, what? Oh.
So the fun fact tied to this is you can find Ed Kempfer Valentine's Day cards for sale on Etsy. I don't know if they're his or somebody making a sick joke about them.
He's making them in prison.
Maybe. This might have been a bad idea.
I think you're ahead of all the others.
So case number 3 is Anthony Marino, the 92-year-old woman, and the 92-year-old woman. So he was a lab technician at a hospital. He was found sexually desecrating a 92-year-old woman's dead body inside the morgue.
Okay, see, now when you say necrophilia, like that's honestly that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Like that's what I figured would happen.
So
it's like, oh, the morgue technician gets a little handsy.
Yeah, so that's kind of what sounds like happened with this guy. He was a lab technician. He's like, I've never been with a 92-year-old woman, and he tried to get with a 92-year-old woman. So there's some rumors about his MySpace page, and one of the most peculiar rumors is a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and the quote is, "What lies behind us and what lies before us are small matters compared to what lies within us."
Yeah, I think true words have never been spoken.
All right, so case number 4, we're going to go back to another girl, Karen Greenlee. The unrepentant necrophilia is her name. So
she's like, yeah, I did it. Yeah, I did it. So what? I'd do it again.
So she's 22 years old, and she was an embalmer at a memorial lawn moratorium in Sacramento. She stole a hearse. She was driving to a funeral on December 17th, 1979. She spent 2 days with a 33-year-old man's corpse before she tried to commit suicide by overdosing on codeine Tylenol.
Okay.
Found in her victim's casket was a 5-page letter confessing she had slept with at least 20 to 40 dead men.
God damn.
However, the police found Greenland before she was left for dead. So she had slept with 40, and I don't know how, I guess I know rigor mortis can set in and things get hard, but I didn't think the wiener would get that hard.
I wouldn't either.
But again, like you look at the guy that slept with the 92-year-old woman, you're like, that's just gross. And this girl, you're like, well, that's how I'd want to go. Like, well, I mean, I'm not using it anymore.
What was that? There was a porn. There was a porn where there was this guy and he had like terminal cancer or whatever, and the nurse is talking to him, and it's like it's like those sexy nurses or whatever, and he's like, and she's like, is there anything I could do to make you more comfortable? And he's like, well, I came in by the snatch. I'd like to go out by the snatch. And then the porn music kicks in.
Well, that's funny. Let's see. So she was only convicted of stealing a hearse and had to pay a $250 fine and 11 days in jail, since necrophilia was not illegal in the state of California at the time, but now it's actually a felony. So the Greenlee law went into effect. I don't know if there's actually a Greenlee law, but
They don't fuck a court
Yeah,
with law.
yeah. It's like, do we seriously need a law for this?
Yeah, apparently we do. Apparently we need to make a law.
So she continued to work at the moratorium, even when her trial was begun. But she was sued by the victim's mother for emotional distress. So she's like, "You stressed me out knowing that you banged my dead son." But she continued to work there. So that's another thing. It's like, she slept with these dead bodies, and she ends up showing back up at work the next day, and the guy's like, "Well, she does a good job." Every now and then, if I fall asleep on the gurney and I'm like super tired, so it's like I'm dead to the world, I wake up and she's on top of me going to town. So bad thing is though, I wake up and she gets off because she gets turned off right away.
Shh, I'm not really dead.
She gave a detailed and remorse interview with her fixation to Jim Morton for his book Apocalypse Culture. She said she later regretted the interview. She changed her name and moved to another town because, when you're in the town and you're known as the dead dude fucker, you just can't get any touch. She was part of a short story, too, called We So Seldom Look on Love, which was inspired the 1996 indie film Kissed, which I've never seen or read that one.
I've never seen that either.
And the fifth one, we don't necessarily have to go into a bunch. But the fifth one is the notorious serial killer, Richard, Ted Bundy, who confessed to murdering 36 in the 1970s, and a lot of people believe it's closer to 100.
Yeah, some people. Yeah, I've heard estimates it goes to 50. I've heard estimates it goes to 100 because a lot of his murders he would pick up hitchhikers, and so he would just drive. He would drive on the highway. He'd pick up a hitchhiker. He'd kill the hitchhiker and dump him. So a lot of murders that occurred where it was hitchhikers on the side of the road might be his, but who knows?
Yeah, and I think the creepiest thing I know about him, my mom I think watched this on like a Discovery Channel type movie or a Lifetime movie or something where it was like the Ted Bundy story, and the creepiest thing she said was from that movie was. He had a girlfriend who he never abused or anything that I know of, but like while they're getting ready to have sex, he like looks at her and is like, "Hey, can you pretend like you're dead?" Like how that's like again the first story. Like how creepy would that be if like a man does like, "Richard, can you pretend to be dead?"
No, thank you.
And you do, and she just jams a thumb in your butt. Can't pretend anymore. Can't pretend anymore.
No, I'm done. I got it. Nope. We're finished here.
We're doing Princess Leia again. That's what we're doing. Oh, and you're gonna be Luke? No, damn it! I'm going to bed. The funny thing on this Blumhouse, the end article, it says society wants you to believe that necrophilias are few and rather than many, but just remember, Karen Greeley may still be lurking by the bodies inside your funeral home.
Oh, that's great. Thanks for that. Oh,
so Richard, that's my last story for this Brolloween episode. Do you have anything else you want to kind of pull in for this year's Brolloween?
Let's see. I have some. I gotta pick one out. Let's see. The one I'm reading. Okay. Here I have a story about June and Jennifer Gibbons.
Okay.
And they are called they became known as the Silent Twins.
Creepy. That sounds like a creepy band name.
Because they only communicated with each other.
Oh, that's creepy. Okay.
So they were the daughters of Caribbean immigrants, Gloria and Aubrey Gibbons. Gloria was a housewife and Aubrey worked as a technician for the Air Force. Shortly after their birth in Barbados, the family moved to Wales. The twin sisters were inseparable, and their punctual high-speed, their high-speed, like, kind of gibberish made it difficult for people to understand them. As the only black children in the community, they were ostracized in school. This proved traumatic for the twins, eventually causing their school administrators to dismiss them early each day so they might avoid bullying. Their language became even more idiosyncratic at the time, and soon no one could understand it.
That's sad.
Their language qualified as an example of cryptophagia. exemplified by the twins' simultaneous actions, which often mirrored each other. Eventually, the twins spoke to no one except each other and their younger sister, Rose. When the twins turned 14, a succession of therapists were tried unsuccessfully to get them to communicate with others. They were sent to separate boarding schools in an attempt to break their isolation, but the pair became catatonic and entirely withdrawn when parted.
So basically, once they were pulled apart, they almost like when I don't even know a good example. Sorry, I was trying to think of something.
You're good. When they were reunited, the two spent several years isolating themselves in their bedroom, engaged in elaborate play with dolls. They created many plays and stories in a sort of soap opera style, reading some of them aloud on tape as gifts for their sister. Inspired by a pair of gift diaries at Christmas in 1979, they began their writing careers. They sent away for a mail order course in creative writing and each wrote several novels. Set primarily in the United States and particularly in Malibu, California, an excitingly exotic locale to romantic girls trapped in a sleepy Welsh town. The stories involve young men and women who exhibit strange and often criminal behavior. In June's Pepsi Cola addict, the high school hero was seduced by a teacher, then sent away to a reformatory where a homosexual guard makes a play for him. And Jennifer's the pugilist, a physician, is so eager to save his child's life that he kills the family dog to obtain its heart for a transplant. The dog's spirit lives on in the child and ultimately has its revenge against the father.
What? This is a story they made up?
These are stories they made up. Jennifer also wrote Discomania, the story of a young woman who discovers that the atmosphere of a local disco incites patrons to insane violence. She followed up with The Taxi Driver's Son, a radio play called Postman and Postwoman, and several short stories.
It sounds like they're like us, except the fact that they don't try to make funny stories. They make horrible, scary stories.
Yeah. Also, consider like they don't talk to anybody except each other.
But they were writing these in coherent English that people could read?
Yeah.
How fucked up? I mean, I imagine that's probably what our wives think with us. It's like, those two go off on their own and they babble and we don't understand what the fuck they're talking about. And then they come back telling us these stories that they think are funny and they're not.
We're like, we come back and we're like, hey, Shawn, bonobo. And you're like, ah, ha, 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 ha. And Tiffany's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
There's these chimpanzees like to have sex. She's like, I'm already done. Like,
is that a code? Their novels were published by a self-publishing press called New Horizons, and they made many attempts to sell short stories to magazines, but were unsuccessful. A brief fling with some American boys, the sons of a U.S. Navy serviceman, led nowhere. The girls then went on to commit a number of crimes, including arson, which led to their being committed to Broadmoor Hospital, a high-security mental health hospital. There they remained for 14 years, placed on high doses of antipsychotic medications. They found themselves unable to concentrate. Jennifer apparently developed dyskinesia, a neurological disorder resulting in involuntary repetitive movements. Their medications were apparently adjusted sufficiently to allow them to continue the copious diaries they had begun in 1980. And they were able to join the hospital choir, but they lost most of their interest in creative writing. The case achieved some notice due to newspaper coverage. The British tabloid The Sun gave a brief but accurate account of their story, headlined, "Genius Twins Won't Speak." According to Wallace, who was the one of the reporters, he said the girls had a long-standing agreement that if one died, the other must begin to speak and live a normal life. During their stay in the hospital, they began to believe that it was necessary for one twin to die, and after much discussion, Jennifer agreed to be the sacrifice. In March of 1993, the twins were transferred from Broadmoor to the more open Caswell Clinic in Wales. On arrival, Jennifer could not be roused. She was taken to the hospital where she died of acute myocarditis, which is a sudden inflammation of the heart. There was no evidence of drugs or poison in her system, and her death remains a mystery.
And the other sister moved to the States and changed her name to Katy Perry.
On a visit a few days later, Wallace recounted that June, the other sister, quote, was in a strange mood, and she said, "I'm free at last, liberated, and at last Jennifer has given up her life for me." After Jennifer's death, June gave interviews in Harper's Bazaar and The Guardian, and by 2006, she was living quietly and independently near her parents in West Wales. She was no longer monitored by psychiatric services and was accepted by her community and sought to put the past behind her.
So for some reason, those two couldn't be one? Like, they couldn't be their own individual self?
Unless one of them died.
That's weird. Did she ever say
then,
why?
No. I mean, I don't know. I haven't read the news stories, but...
That's
so apparently
weird.
they didn't talk unless they talked to each other. They wrote and created all these fucking terrible, horrible stories, and then they were committed to an institution, and then eventually they agreed that one of them had to die in order for the other one to be normal. And one of them just dies, and no one can figure out why.
That's weird.
So...
And this is recent, because you said the other girl's just living normal now.
Yeah, as far as I know, she's still alive.
Like, to me, like, it says like, oh, well, they stopped monitoring her. Like, after that, I think they need to monitor her more. Something's not right. Something is definitely afoot. Well, that's a good creepy story that didn't involve a hotel room, so I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
But I guess pulling into the neighbor's house to get some trick-or-treat candy, Richard, before we close this Brolloween 2016 up, do you have any Richard's closing thoughts? Any Richard's spooky thoughts?
I think the only thing we should say here is everything that we've said, as far as we can tell, is completely true. So truth is definitely stranger than fiction in a lot of cases, especially these cases.
Yeah. What's scary is these are the things that we kind of know about. It's the things that we don't know about that's probably even scarier.
Also, don't stay in hotels because there's people there that are going to kill
You're
you.
a dick. You better text me every day to make sure I'm okay. All right, well, I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping. Visit our website. We're at languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter. We're at languageofbro. Email us at eatthebeaver@languageofbromance.com. Check out the LOB Army Intelligence Report on our website as well. That's got the 12th level intellect. That's got Richard's rants. It's got Ian Wells Presents.
They're all very good. Well, two of them are. Not fuck that Richard's rant. He just babbles. He babbles incoherently. Fuck that guy.
Make sure to like us on Facebook, subscribe and leave a review on Google Play Music, iTunes, and Stitcher.
And don't forget to check us out on the Pod Bros Network.
The spookiest podcast site on the internet.
God, do you have to do... It's a bunch of podcasts that don't talk to each other, but they talk to each other.
And if you're in the need to join our LOB Army, go to our Patreon. It's www.patreon.com/languageofbromance. All right. Well, was there anything else before I close her out?
No. Let's slam the book on Brolloween 2016.
All right. Well, I got my caramel covered apple and my popcorn ball. So that's all the bromance we have for this show. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Richard.
And I say we the beaver.
Sleep well tonight, Shawn.
Don't look under the bed.
Or in the closet.
I'm going to check every freaking crevice in this hotel room.
And don't drink the water.